I want to parse the ranges. As you can see, each number represents either the start or the end of the range. I can immediately pass this to awk. However, there's a small problem in here. I have two different separators. I have the dash separator and I have the comma separator. The one thing I can do is I can clean the data before I use awk. I'm going to substitute anything that is not a digit with a space. I'm going to use the global flag because I want to also replace all the occurrences, not just the first occurrence. Once I do that, as you can see, I only have spaces in between numbers. The reason why I need to put spaces or to put just a unique separator is for awk to differentiate between different column fields. If I select the whole buffer and I pass it to awk, I need to check the start of the first range if it is greater or equal the start of the second range. And the end of the first range is smaller or equal the end of the second range. However, there's a possibility that maybe the first range is the smallest range and the second range is the bigger range. So I'm going to just say or, and I'm just going to repeat the same things. This is the condition. I'm just going to create a variable. I'm going to call it sum, and it will keep on accumulating the sum of this condition. And at the end, print the sum. And you can see I'm getting 503, which is the solution to the first part. Now, for the second part, I'm just going to edit this command. That's all I'm going to do. Right here, I'm testing the start of the first range against the start of the second range. And again, I'm going to test the start of the first range against the end of the second range. I'm going to repeat this for the second one. And if I run this, I'm getting 827, which is the correct answer. So let me talk a little bit about a couple of questions that you're going to go through in the exercises section. Just give you a couple of hints here and there. I'm not going to solve them because I want you to solve it yourself. One of the exercises that you need to go through is you need to clean the data and at the same time make sure that the data always starts with the smallest range at the left and the bigger range at the right. I want you to get used to the idea of cleaning the data and making the data more suitable for the tool. Let's say you have a command and you're passing it to awk. You're going to clean it a little bit with another utility. Then you're going to pass it maybe a second time to awk, maybe clean it with another utility, then pass it again to awk. And this way, you're going to find yourself composing commands that are easy to read, easy to digest, and easy to maintain. The numbers are very easy to deal with. However, in real life, data all the time comes in ugly forms. So you need to be prepared for that. One thing that I'm asking you to do is to solve part 1 and part 2, but treating this as strings by using regex. So let me show you something. If I say echo, and I have a range, let's say from 1 to 3, right? And I'm going to pass this to grep, and I say, is 3 there? And if I run this, you can see that grep highlighted 3. But what happened if I say, I have 1, 2, and 13? Now it's telling me that yes, 3 does exist, but I'm not looking for 13. I'm looking number 3. So in regex, the way how we solve this, the way how we combat this is by using word boundaries. Okay? And now you can see it's returning nothing because 3 does not exist. We have 13, but 13 is not 3. If I add 3 in here, you can see now I am getting back 3. So we can put boundaries. These are boundaries, okay? Another way to put boundaries by using the flag W stands for word. If I want to only get the matching characters, I can use -O. I'm showing you this because I want you to take each range and generate the range. So if I say echo from 1 until, let's say 9, you can see I can easily generate a range and then compare them using strings. So this is how I want you to solve part 1 and part 2. In vim, we have access to the following operator. If I say I have ABC, I want to see if it matches the following regex. I can add my regex in here. I can say, does it contain the character A? And as you can see, it's returning 1. It means yes, it does contain it. So I gave you enough hints to solve this problem. There's one more exercise that you need to go through. It's about using a language that you know best. Or maybe you know a language that offer a better utilities. So if I go back to our command that we used, this is the awk script that we use. In order to know if a range is fully in another range or if a range is overlapping with another range, we had to go low level. And this is not optimal. What is optimal if we have operators that achieve something like this, we don't have to implement these things from scratch. Maybe you are working in a language that offers you something like you can just specify a range and say, does this range exist in the following range? So if you are using a language that offers operators like this, you have to solve the same problem using that language. But let's say that you are in a language that doesn't offer these things. Yeah, it doesn't have these fancy operators and these fancy utilities. I'm going to use JavaScript as an example. With JavaScript, there are no operators or fancy utilities that will help us achieve something like this. However, the community is big and we have first-class functions. So there are higher chances that we might find a library that could make it so easy for us to achieve what we did. Or maybe a library that comes with a utility that say n, and I can create a range from 1 to 10. Maybe it takes 2 ranges, another range here from 2 to 9, right? This one to check if it's fully n, and maybe we have, does it overlap? You know, I'm just making things up here. These do not exist, but I'm just trying to give you an example. All of us, we have a couple of libraries that we are used to. Maybe you have a favorite library every time you want to deal with regex, every time you want to deal with text and manipulate text. So I want you to have access to those libraries while you are in Vim. And the way how you can do this, it depends on the language that you use. But for example, for Node, you can go and read the help page and you're going to find that there's a flag that helps you load any module you want. So next time when I am inside Vim, right, and I run Node, I can just say Node and I can, add that specific flag. If I run this using Node, it's returning that does overlap doesn't exist. But you can add this and you can map it inside your vimrc. So every time when you run Node, it will load those libraries. This will open the opportunity for us to just use those utilities and functions like they do exist with JavaScript or whatever language you are using. So in the future, if you see me use a function, you ask yourself, this one does not exist in JavaScript. How is he capable of invoking this function using Node? Just know that behind the scenes, I am loading a couple of libraries and modules. The only thing that I need to mention is you need to install those globally, okay? So using npm global. That way you can load those modules globally. Now, this one was just for JavaScript. If you are using Python, you're going to have a different process that you need to figure out. But if you are using a more capable language, you don't have to do none of this. But I'm just saying. Okay, so the exercises will be published through cypherlogs.com. I hope you enjoy this one and see you in the next one.